tell me about this at the Los Arcos, because when I was a kid, we used to go to the Eagle's Nest, and I can't remember if it was on 2nd Street or 8th Street in Odessa. But we used to go over there to eat, and then sometimes they'd have somebody over playing music and a little dancing or whatever when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I remember there was some building on, I think it was on 2nd or 8th Street, but I can't remember for sure, that they said the devil went to this club or a bar or something.
Okay, so I went viral on TikTok barely, and what I want to touch on, right, is I'll tell the story and then I'll touch on my point in a minute, right? So they're saying at Los Arcos in Odessa, I don't know exactly where it's at. It's a kind of more of a Mexican pool hall, dance hall. They said that back in the day, I heard this for a long time. A man appeared. He walked in there, suave. All the girls wanted to dance with him. He had his pick of the litter. And from what I was told, by the time they noticed, he was on the ceiling upside down, dancing like an astronaut. That's what someone had told me, right? And then
I started to say he could have been talking about me. You know, the girls used to call me Hombre Dorado.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of guys said that in the comments too. It was me. But the point is, everybody freaked out and ran. Right. So, and I even said in the video, this story's been in a lot of Mexican folklore throughout, I would say, history now, because the thing that I wanted to touch on, Shane, is in the comments, people were like, man, you're lying, or you got it wrong. It was in San Antonio. It was here, and it's already gone to different states at this point. The story of a man walking into a pool hall and dancing with a girl, and they're saying that, you know, it had chicken legs, goat feet. Then most people were saying about Odessa that they saw the dude jumping on cars, you know, laughing into the night and ran off. That was the main thing of the story that people were saying about Odessa. The point is, what I want to ask you, Shane, because you're a sensible man, is there some kind of way that this story, I'm not saying I believe it, I'm just saying this is what I was told, and it went viral. I want to say 180,000 views. I think ours didn't hit 250,000, the one me and you did. But the point is, do you think in some weird way that a folklore story similar to this has some kind of truth in it for it to be spread through so many generations and areas? Go ahead.
So what I would say is, and you can think of this in this specific instance, but I would speak in more general terms, because when you bring up the matter of folklore, it's based on something. I mean, especially when multiple people are saying the same thing, right? I mean, you don't have people that don't know each other over a course of years saying the same thing about the same location and the same events happening. I think, you know, I have never had a personal experience of anything like that. But like I was saying a while ago, I remember them saying something of that nature, but I was so young I couldn't remember the details, that it happened in Odessa. And what strikes me, though, is you also said that some people said, no, that's wrong. It happened in San Antonio. So think about that. Think about that. It would make more sense to me that if it happened maybe in Odessa, maybe in San Antonio, maybe in Beaumont, maybe in Shreveport. Maybe, you know, I mean, you're not talking about something that existed for one moment in time and never appeared again. It would make more sense to me that there would be recurrences of the event.
Hey, Shane, let me ask you this. I mean, this is not part of our podcast. This is an extra little clip we wanted to film here. What are your thoughts on the supernatural? Because, but before you answer that, though, I'm going to say I made another video, Buddy Webb, talking about the underground tunnels. And then I said that also Gary Painter was made a Grand Mason. The next day he has a heart attack and dies, right? That's the sheriff of Midland. And there's a lot of stories about him, right? That corruption and this, that, and the third. But I was making the point in my other video that Midland, it seems to be a supernatural place, to say the least. There's a lot of things that happen here that are wicked. And my mechanic, the mechanic that I interviewed the last time, Brian, he came and he said that when he comes into Midland, he feels like a dark, this is what he said, he feels like a heavy, dark presence when he drives into Midland. And this guy's not some, you know, some supernaturalist, you know, whatever, you know, kind of guy. He's like us, right? So my thoughts are, or my question for you is, what are your thoughts on Midland and then the supernatural just being a common man?
Well, I would say this. I believe for sure, and maybe like being extra sensitive to stuff. almost to the point of premonitions, whether you would call it like deja vus or in my personal experience, there's been many times that I dreamed about something in a place and then ended up in that place randomly, a place very similar to it at the very least.
More than once.
Later on. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if that's, they can say deja vu or whatever, like, oh, well, I found myself in a place and I felt like I remembered this place. But in my experience more, it would be a vivid dream. And I'd be like, man, I've never been to a place like that before. That don't make no sense. But then later on, I'm like, you know what? This is like that dream that I had. And as far as that, when he drives into Midland or whatnot, I personally believe that those feelings are almost like premonitions of something like that. That is your instinct and everything, part of your soul or something. And it may be speaking differently to different people in different places because we don't know. God forbid, I'm not somebody to try to hope anything or wish anything bad on somebody. But wherever he's coming from, if he always drives into Midland the same way, we don't know that one of these days that's not going to be where he's coming in and somebody runs a stop sign and hits him and kills him. Or, I mean, we don't know none of that. You can't know any of that. There's been very few places that I've ever had that type of eeriness or whatever, weigh on me. And if I feel that somewhere, I don't go back. I do my best not to go back to those places.
Man, that's some good points, man. Maybe it's even your intuition, your inner being, the Holy Spirit, being a Christian. What would you say about Midland being a kind of a dark, demonic area? What are your thoughts about that?
Anything like that, I personally feel more than based on things that have happened maybe in the past or that might happen in the future. I believe that is part and parcel. It goes along with who's here and what's going on. What's going on in this city, right? And I've said this to you before. I feel like generally 50 to 55% of people are good, normal, everyday people, But that doesn't mean that everybody in the city is. What if at one point, let's just say 50, good round number. If 50% of people are good people that are not going to do bad things or evil things, and 50% of people are people that can very easily do bad, depending on circumstances, they could be persuaded or influenced to do horrible things. Well, when you look at worldwide, that's one thing to say 50% of people. But what happens if you're in a locale where it's not 50%, and now it's 75, 80% of people inclined to do whatever's easy or whatever, that they could be influenced to do shady or even evil stuff.
So do you think that population, this is probably a two-part question, do you think that can affect the whole environment as a whole? And then do you believe in dark energy?
Well, I would tell you this, it absolutely can. I don't think it can affect or necessarily the whole population, because what I am is what I am, and what I'm going to do is what I'm going to do. And there's things that I'm not going to do, no matter the consequences or
rewards or whatever.
Right. But I do think that you can set an atmosphere in a place. I know that you've probably been in a place where you're like, man, this is not a good place.
I already know something's going to happen.
And the more prevalent those types of behaviors and negativity and insanity is embraced or promoted, something like that, yeah, absolutely. I can see a location or a city taking on an aura, for lack of a better word, of, that type of presence. I'll say that. I've never felt that about a particular city, but man, I've been in a couple of neighborhoods or even a couple of houses. Now, I've been to places I didn't have no business going. I'll tell you that right now. And a couple of them places, I knew when I was there, it's like, I need to get up out of here.
What are your thoughts on the supernatural?
Supernatural, I really don't have opinion. I've never had those experiences myself. I believe that they can happen, and I don't know what would constitute necessarily how much of it may be something that's actually supernatural. I mean, it's like this, like I believe absolutely that something can happen that's unexplainable, and a person can absolutely believe this and know that they saw something, but nobody else there saw it. Now, what makes the case for those things for me is like you were speaking about a while ago. You're in a venue and multiple people that don't even know each other, see something similar and describe it in similar terms. And that, I mean, I don't buy into randomness like that. I think it's more likely that there's something supernatural happen. It's more likely that something supernatural would happen than it is that 8 different people would see the same thing the same way on the same night in the same place.
Ain't it crazy though? The whole story like spread to like if thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people all have a similar story throughout, like I said, generations, especially with that story with the devil on the ceiling. I don't know if it's true. Like I said, it went viral, and I just want to ask your thoughts on it. Let me ask you one more question, Shane. Do you believe in things, in hauntings or haunted places?
Never really given it much thought. I know I've been in some places that I felt something like that, like this is not a good place, like there's something's not right here. And that's even with no other people there, So, I mean, maybe to that aspect, I believe in them. I do believe that there can be, a presence of something, and I don't know if I'm the guy to explain what that would be. I do believe in angels and demons.
Why do you say you believe in that?
The Bible tells me that there's angels and demons.
Have you ever experienced anything like that? It seems like you probably would have. It's for you to believe it.
I would say this. A lot of times, I think that we get, whether you want to call them premonitions or feelings about something or somebody, and, so we call to check on them, or we go over there, or we say, you know what, I need to go back to the house. For some reason, I don't know what it is. I need to go check on Nino or whatever, and then we do it. I mean, I would think that that's being influenced, even if you can't understand it, like it wasn't spoken words or whatever, like a push or influence to do something or to not do something.
Shane, let me ask you this. You ever go out to a lease early in the morning and you kind of get creeped out? Like maybe not that someone's looking at you or that there's something out there. Like I went to a lease out there called the Shannon Hospital. What cities out there past Odessa and Crane and all that on is it 385 or 285, right? Or is it 385?
McCamey down there?
McCamey, there's another one too though. But it's near McCamey, but it's a town that's really small, but it has big old hills. I forgot.
It's been so long since I've been
anyways,
down
there. But yeah, it's somewhere around that area. But in this area, they had a place called Shannon Hospital, a lease. And you drive in this lease deep into the mountain, dude. They even have like little places where you can, hunt for exotic animals, like a hunting, what do you call it? Like a little hunting ground. But the Shannon Hospital is it was like an old building, and you pass by, it has like a little swing and stuff. And, I'm a grown man, but back then I was kind of younger, but I drive out there and I kind of felt kind of spooked out. Do you ever feel like that when you're out there in the leases alone? Because people don't know about that. When you're not always alone in the oil field. Someone's always watching, to say the least. But have you ever gone out to a lease, bro, and just kind of got spooked a little bit? Your mind played tricks on you?
I probably have when, and it would have been when I was probably hauling oil because, you like to start early.
What do you mean? You used to haul oil?
Yeah, I used to haul oil.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Worked for a buddy of mine at Dorado for a while. And
hell yeah, Shane.
But it was, I would say those instances usually would be, like early in the morning. And I would say just kind of like a feeling of being creeped out, like I could sense something, but I can't see nothing. You know, and I think some of that is because you get out there and it is so quiet. And some of those places are so dark, especially used to. Now, it's crazy around here now with all the lights and the flares and all that. But you know how it is, man. There'd be some places you go down, like you said, south of Crane or up there by Mentone. Man, you could go to some places where your headlights might be the only lights for 5, 6, 7 miles.
I'm getting chills thinking about it right now, Shane, because certain leases, the ones that would affect me or did affect me, you know, when I haul oil, are the ones, like you said, there's nothing around. There's no lights. There's no flares. There's no fracking going on. You're out there. Like I said, the one out there, you're already away from the cities. You're down these mountains and you go into Odessa. You drive deep in there. There's like old, like I said.
Yeah, like north of Mentone on 385. Or is that 285? Yeah.
Orla?
Yeah. That's 385 north of Pecos and then go past.
No, 285. I think 285 is one that goes to Orla.
Right. So when you get north up there, past Orla on the east side of the road, man, there's someplace I went to a couple of Halliburton fracks hauling sand up there that, man, when you get off in there, you're just like, man, thank God there's a frack crew here waiting on me.
Hey, but yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying, though. For a grown man, such as men like us, to be kind of creeped out when you're out there alone, right, for the most part, right, if no one's out there, right, because usually sometimes in the oil field, there's a lot of people out in the field. People get busted stealing oil or whatever because they think they're alone. I always tell everybody, when you think you're alone in the oil field, you're not alone. There's someone's watching you somehow. They know you're out there for the most part. Then again, some people, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, that's something that I'm glad we're touching on, is that when you go out to certain leases and you're alone, especially if you're an oil hauler or a water hauler or even a pumper, right, sometimes you're alone out there. And I think that right there can, you know, your mind can play tricks on you, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. For one thing, you're not used to complete and utter silence and darkness. I mean, you're taking away 2 senses because you can't see anything and you can't hear anything other than the noise you're making.
Good point.
I mean,
well, with that, appreciate it, Shane. Just want to touch on that, see what you thought about it.
Yes, sir.